welcome to episode 7 of Movie Talks. We got a very big show for you today. We are welcomed again with my co-host Lawson.
Hey, woo! 7, let's go.
7. We are back in action, but a segment that we forgot to do before I even introduce what we're doing is a fun-filled. You need to answer in these 3 phases of interested, not interested, and don't care. All right.
Interested. I thought it was interested, not interested, and it's going to be shocking.
Nope, changes every week.
Changes it already.
Yep,
okay,
see?
so interested, not interested, and don't care. What's the difference between not interested and don't care?
It means like not interested. You're like, I'm not really interested, but I don't care. Is like I'm not going to see it. Where I'm not
Couldn't
interested.
care if it existed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Ready?
Sure, if you say so.
Quick fire. You got the rules.
Yep.
Good.
So ready. Yep.
Yep. The Community movie is finally happening. So the Community is
really?
getting a movie.
Not interested. They got super boring and repetitive.
Wow.
Unless it's the original cast. Not interested.
It is the original cast. The whole original cast is all coming back. They're ready to go.
Yeah. Nah, still not interested. I don't not care, but I'm not interested.
Okay. All right. Marvel turning Armored War series, which is a TV show that they had. They're turning it into a movie instead.
Don't care. I watched zero Marvel. Don't care. Sorry.
You're not a Marvel fan. And,
you know that.
I know. I thought it'd be funny. But anyway, the next one is Ready for a Dance, the adaptation of The Matrix. So
what?
There's a dance adaptation of The Matrix.
That's sick. Yeah. I'm more interested in that than the other 2.
Yeah. So movie news.
Movie news, you heard it here.
That came out today. So that's a fun one. But anyway, our order of the show is Blonde, which is the Netflix original movie, Jurassic Park Domination.
No, it's just Jurassic Domination. There's no park.
Oh, yeah. Well, anything that's got Jurassic, always throw park at the end. It's just a reflex, just throwing it there. And also, I would say The Full, but it's full, just full.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, without further ado, into the Netflix original Blonde, which is a fictionalized chronicle of the inner life of Marilyn Monroe. So, I feel like this one is in your bag in terms of how art housey it went. So,
yeah, I have very mixed opinions, but please begin.
Yeah, so this virtually tells the story. It starts from Marilyn's obviously childhood and takes her all the way to like stardom, where I feel like they were sort of should have went into the downsides of Hollywood and also like the high life of Hollywood, where this was mainly just focused on her, like how rough Hollywood is and her tough upbringing. But I feel like they missed the entire segment and they just went right into how tough it was for her. Like, no doubt it was tough for her, but like there was no sort of I'm in the limelight. I'm sort of loving any of the like what the fame and fortune sort of brings, where it was just all dark and gloom for majority of the film, which I felt like was a little bit of a missed opportunity because I was expecting a drama, more of a dramatized kind of like ups and down kind of ride, which sort of assumed would come with fame. But it was very interesting in terms of the shots. Like I wasn't bored in terms of how I felt it was really stylish in terms of the editing.
Very.
Considering I don't like art house, like I thought it was visually stunning in terms of how they went about it and all the different sort of aspects they were trying to show. Like every time she was having like a love interest, there was a bit of like the warp sort of feelings, and that sort of came across
soft focus, like that dream sort of.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. They switched to black and white a number of times, and like I probably missed the reference in terms of why it was going to black and white, or if it was like
I really tried. I was like, okay, maybe it's to do with when she's Marilyn versus when she's Norma, or maybe it's to do with her highs and her lows. And I tried the whole time I was watching it. I was trying to figure out why they chose some black and white scenes and some pure color. And after I went and looked it up, and the filmmakers were like, oh, we just thought it'd be a nice stylistic touch to go back and forth between the two, just to keep it visually interesting. Like, fuck, that's lame. Like, I wanted some like I thought it would have been a really simple way of showing, Marilyn in black and white and Norma in color, and being able to see like in one of the old adaptations about her life, one more accurate to her actual life, they had two different actors playing Marilyn and Norma to really show the juxtaposition between the two, personalities of this person. This missed the mark, I reckon. Like that, the actor did amazing. She's Anna de Armas. She's Cuban,
Yeah,
and some people complained about accents, but I thought it was great.
I'm a big fan of hers. Like she is in all the action films that I watched. Like she was a Bond girl. She was also in
Okay,
the Gray Man. And like if they were going to
I've never seen her.
cast a female Bond, I feel like she
Hmm.
would do it incredible. I'm not sure how they would transition her from a Bond
Sure.
girl to Bond, but if there
Yep.
was going to be a female lead, she would be my like number one running for it. Like
Sure.
she's awesome in terms of the action roles, and she's able to
Yep. Yep.
transverse into obviously the drama side as well. So she
She
was
did great. I mean, I don't know too much about like I haven't seen heaps and heaps of interviews to really know much about Marilyn and to say, she was the perfect adaptation or whatever. But this is a fictionalized version. The story that we watched is a very inaccurate story of her life. It's a novel. It's written. It was a fictional story. So I'm okay with the actor not people whinging about having a bit of an accent and that you could tell that she wasn't American, but it's also like Normal was playing a character every time she was playing Marilyn on or off set. And I think like that's not a bad thing. She was great. She was so good. Best part of the entire thing.
yeah.
I mean, cinematography as well, but she was fantastic. She held her own so well.
I'm glad like the black and white didn't actually mean anything because I was like, all right, I'm gonna come into this podcast and be like, I know art house film. So after you guys had a go at me about it,
I tried, but no, didn't
but
mean
yeah, no,
anything.
they had nothing in there. But in terms of
Did
like
you notice?
Charlie's Chaplin's son, it's just kind of like, oh,
Yeah,
like it was never really explored. They were just like, oh, you're Charlie Chaplin's son. I know there's probably some backstory in terms of that, like
yeah,
how big Charlie Chaplin was. Like I'm sure that fame
yeah. And
and
they
sort of
say
like
we're in the shadows.
yeah,
Yeah,
to
we're a
like
junior.
to like live in the shadow of your
Hmm.
extremely well successful father would be
Yeah,
its own challenge. But like
that whole relationship, that trouble relationship, that's all completely fictional. Completely, like she didn't even
ah
really know them at all.
right, I know very little about Marilyn Monroe besides the photos and like the white dress and
Yeah,
the
I did
the
a
air or
bunch of
whatever.
research because I wanted to know. I was watching this, and I'm like, because I knew that she was married at 16 to a 21-year-old police officer, because her foster family at the time, because she was an orphan and her mum did have mental health issues, not to that degree potentially, but she did spend a lot of time institutionalized. Um, and she was an orphan, and she either had to at 16 she had to go back to the orphanage because her foster family were leaving or whatever. So she married a police officer to stay in California. Um,
So that was
her
an
second
arranged
marriage,
marriage, the first one,
uh, she's
or
always sort of had those sort of marriages that are face value a little bit. Um, she's always wanted to be loved, I guess. Also, she didn't actually know or have any contact with her real dad in real life. She tried to reach out to him a few times. There was a DNA test done in I think the 2000s, to actually finally link this rumored father to actually be her father, through her actual father's granddaughter's DNA. I found out, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, that whole thing about his like contact with her and keeping her on, like baiting her into catching up and whatever, completely fabricated as well. And I think that's my biggest sort of, it's not a complaint because I mean they're allowed to take sort of poetic license with characters, and that's okay. But I think a lot of people on the other end of the extreme, you're gonna watch, there's gonna be people who are really old watching this and they're gonna watch it and go, oh, this is nothing like what Marilyn was, and recognize that, but not enjoy it because it's a stylistic, like it's a lot to take in, and it's 3 hours. And I think young people watching it are going to watch it and think, and yourself included, which is fine, and that's part of the problem of it. are going to think that this is an actual adaptation of her life and it's a biopic. Uh, but it isn't. It's a lot of things that are accurate, and her wanting to be loved and her falling for the wrong man and all that stuff is very accurate. But there's a lot of shit that's tossed in. Her having heaps of abortions. There's no facts behind that. She'd have like a couple of miscarriages and stuff, which was a whole thing. But I don't know. This movie almost there's a line where they almost start to glorify how badly she was treated. Um,
Oh, they definitely went over the top in terms of like every
yeah,
scene she was being pretty much abused. Like
yeah,
it was almost 2 hours of pretty much shocking
hard to
or
watch.
hard to watch scenes.
Hmm.
Like, well, obviously, I don't know the depths of it, and I'm guessing the research you did probably don't know if it was actually like that. Like, how much information were the directors and the producers sort of fed in terms of what they wanted to show for Marilyn, or was it?
Yeah, well, it's based on a book, and the book is a fictionalized, almost a fan fiction of Marilyn's life. Um,
I feel like that
I
needs to
mean,
be clearer. Like, give us some subtitles or an intro of like someone telling
yeah,
a
I agree.
story or something. Like,
I
then
agree. Something
then
in the
we.
beginning, like this is a fictionalized version. It does say that in like the synopsis you read out of the beginning. It does say
Yeah,
fictionalized,
but
but
how many people read that to the start with? They're like, "Ooh."
exactly. And it's a
People.
scanned word. It's a word that you're like, oh yeah, cool, it's fictionalized. Then you move on. Like, how much is fictionalized? Or even if they had the black and gray versus color, and it was like, this is the real stuff and this is the fictional stuff, or something. I just something to separate fact from fiction because it's a little misleading. Um, like the John F. Kennedy scene, there's no fact behind that. She had a massive love interest at the end of her life with John F. Kennedy's brother,
Huh,
um, which they didn't explore at all. She barely even knew John F. Kennedy. She only knew him through his brother. She hung out with them because they were like
right.
bureaucrats and politicians, and she wanted to be seen as smart. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of missed stuff that I really wanted to be explored. But I'm complaining too much because I really loved the cinematographer's attention to detail. Um, with I'm not sure if you noticed the aspect ratio changes back and forth between like 1:1 and 4:3 and whatever. And I found out afterwards that those ratios are to match the photographs that the scene is based upon.
Oh, that's cool.
That the photo was taken in 1:1, then that scene was filmed in 1:1, which I really like.
So it was
And even the photo behind me is like a perfect like replica of the original photo.
so it was
They did a really good
in
job.
timeline order. So like as they went through in terms of
Sort of. It's more to do. I guess there's a period in the 50s and 60s where there was no mainline ratio, and a lot of photographers use different ratios, and a lot of cinematographers different ratios. So they had to go back and forth a little bit. Um,
personal preference for photographers.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think so.
So
Yeah,
then,
at that
okay.
point anyway.
Yeah, right. That's really cool.
My
I'm
understanding.
not going to go back and probably watch it because that's it was long. It
Very
was,
long.
and with everything that was happening, it was like this is. I wasn't bored, but it was long.
No.
Like I was looking at my watch, going, "All right,
Yeah.
that's a while to go still."
I
Where,
watched it in four stints because
all
it
right,
was just hard. I think watching someone suffer that much for 3 hours is just a hard thing to do.
yeah, which I
That was
felt
my
like they needed that rubber band where it was like the highs or
mm-hmm,
the good
mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
being like rich and famous. Where
Yeah.
they never touched on it at all. It was dark and gloomy. I know they said romance in the title as well, like it's a biopic
Yeah.
drama and a romance. Where I felt like the romance was sort of skimmed over. It was like a token sort of gesture into,
Yeah.
I guess, Marilyn's like love life, but like it's visually it's stunning. The
Mm-hmm,
editing is really good. The acting
mm-hmm.
is good. It's just long,
Incredible.
and they just went too far into the drama, heavy
Yeah.
tones. Like it's heavy to sit
Real
there
heavy.
and watch it. Like there's no lighthearted. I don't think there's one lighthearted moment. I don't think there was once where I
Uh,
like smiled or giggled or anything. It was just
yeah,
here it
which is
is.
fine because I mean that's again we're painting a picture of a woman's life who was very tormented and mistreated, and um it's probably a pretty fair adaptation of her life to give us 3 hours of misery that was supposedly her 36 years was pretty misery filled. Um, but you're right, like in the beginning when she was a pinup model and in Playboy and whatever, she was a bit happy and things were looking really good, but then straight away as soon as she became Marilyn, the world was against her, and like she was smart and she was very learned. She did a lot of reading and read stories and books and novels, and everyone always, and I really liked in this how everyone's like, who told you that? Who told you to say that? Where'd you get that from? It was never, no one ever like thought that she'd actually be intelligent.
That's kind of at
Which
well for that time period. That's kind of
totally,
where it's at, isn't it?
yeah,
So
that's why she in the when she was filming I forget the film, the one at the end, which on the train, when
I
she's
could,
like losing her, when she's getting all angry and whatnot. I can't remember the name of the film, which is a real Marilyn Monroe film, but when she's filming one of the later scenes, after one of her miscarriages, she um is like breaking down and screaming at people and whatever, and supposedly that's accurate
okay.
as well.
Yeah, right. I couldn't name one
Um,
Marilyn film. I don't reckon, but
no, that's fair.
but
It's
it's
before our time.
yeah, it's never been something I've looked at. But yeah, dark, heavy tones, well
Mhm.
edited cinematography. I would recommend it to people to have a look.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
definitely be like, have a look. Like Netflix, they've done well, but they're very hit and miss in terms of their original content.
yeah, hey,
But this like justifies the $20 a month price tag, really. Like
yeah,
if they can put stuff out like this that sort of like leaves an impression or is that stylish, like
hmm
okay, like I'm more than happy to keep my Netflix subscription. But
definitely.
they're so inconsistent. But
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I didn't not enjoy it, but having done some research about the real Marilyn, I kind of wish they went in two directions. Either give us a story about Marilyn Monroe's life and show us exactly what it was like, and show us the highs and the lows, and like you said, give us some of those good moments as well, because surely there had to be some good moments of being that level of fame. Maybe not. Or go down a really odd path and go down like a, I don't know, make it almost like a horror film where, or like a thriller where the bad guy, quote unquote, is the onlooking audience, and it's like watching her spiral out of control. We sort of got that a little bit, but I feel like they sort of bounce back and forth, and then it just kind of ended,
yeah, it was
and that was
quick.
it.
But yeah, all right. What
Yeah.
would you give this one?
Uh, can you go first? I'm still sort of tossing up. I'm on like a three ish because a lot of it was really good, and I wasn't bored for 3 hours. Um, but it also was very long. It could have been 2 hours and been better, I think.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Uh,
three and a half maybe.
okay. I would give it a flat three. Would I recommend it?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be like, this is what you're in for.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good conversation starter film in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the, I guess, just talking about the nature of the film, but it is so heavy, like three
Yeah.
hours of that misery. But
Yeah.
it's visually stunning and it's you're not bored, but it's heavy to watch. So it's a three for me. I would recommend it. In terms
Mm-hmm.
of, I guess my rating scale is anything from a three up. I would recommend anything under a
Sure.
three. Yeah, you're not getting recommended.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I would recommend this to someone with like the asterisk of be in a good mental health state and know that it's fictional. This isn't the real Marilyn. A lot of it's pretty fair. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, well,
made me
yeah,
sad, which is probably
yeah.
good, but made me very sad.
Yeah. Well, let's pick up the mood and go into another fictional tale.
What are we going into straight away? We going into Jurassic?
Yeah, we are.
Oh,
Jurassic,
sick.
not Park,
Jurassic
Domination.
Domination.
And
All right.
wowzers.
I'm going to intro this one. You ready for
Oh,
this?
yeah.
So I'll start with the IMDb synopsis. So it says when two military made weaponized dinosaurs attack a small mountain town, it's up to the sheriff to figure out a way to stop the creatures before the dinos escape and wreak havoc nationwide. Uh, so I'll start by saying this is made by the Asylum. They make their money off of piggybacking off of successful films. Do you know much from the Asylum, Ryman?
If I have a look at the list, then probably, but
Oh, they've got things like when Alien Predator came out, they released the Predator. When Hornet came out, they released Bumblebee. When Monster Island came out, they released Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like,
is
oh,
it
sorry, other way
just
around.
is it just this one bloke?
No, the Asylum is it's like this company who they all make low budget stuff, and their only goal really is people will accidentally watch their film instead of the actual film.
Oh, because it's close to the name, so it's like
Yeah,
the bootleg of the
yeah.
double A films.
Oh,
This
it's ridiculous.
just looking into Brian Nowak, who directed, and he's got Bullet Train Down.
Yeah, obviously the
um,
Bullet Train
yeah, Megalodon Rising,
of the Meg.
Bloody Bites. I don't know. It's a
He did
TV.
Thor: God and Thunder, which is Thor: Love and Thunder.
I actually, when I was trying to find Love and Thunder, I did click on that, so they
There
got
you
me.
go. See,
Yeah,
that's the problem. It fucking works. So
yeah.
that's the Asylum. And you said to go into this without knowing anything. The first thing I saw come up on the screen
Was
was the
Asylum.
Asylum, and I knew exactly what to expect. um, so yeah, it's made by the Asylum. It's meant to be obviously a rip off of Jurassic Park Dominion, but it's Jurassic Domination. It's there are basically like 6 characters. There's military woman, military man 1, military man 2, military man 3, because there's like 3 blokes who
Although
sequentially die.
military woman, she's pretty much emotionless.
Oh my god, she was horrendous to cast someone like her. And I have so much to say about this movie, so much.
Go
So that's our
finish off the
first like
characters.
4.
Yep.
Then we have hold on. There's someone
So,
else in the middle there.
Science
But
Lady
there's
one.
also Science Lady, Doctor Lady.
Yep.
And then we get the best character, who's the general who's on the phone, who's Eric Roberts, he has 600 IMDb listings, credits.
No.
He's been in so many things. He was in oh man, he was in something good, like something decent. He does some the Dark Knight,
See, not
or no, the first one.
he
He was in
just
Batman Begins or Dark Knight, or
well
forget, but
the Dark Knight.
yes,
Yeah, and
like he's been in some good stuff. But
the
every
Expendables.
scene he was in, it was obvious that they couldn't get him because obviously he's a named actor, so they wanted him in the movie, but they filmed all of his scenes like obviously nowhere near or nowhere in the same time period as they filmed all the other rest of the scenes. And it was just him obviously like going through his lines step by step and just touching the phone, doop, 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 and then yelling out his lines into the phone. Every scene with him was fucking hilarious. I was so happy.
Just a side note, that guy has 28 projects that he's currently in.
Fuck me.
So he has
anything. He's like the white Danny Trejo.
He's got 14 that in pre-production, and then the others are currently filming.
Insane.
And then I didn't even count the ones that are in post-production. But I have
to.
Oh
my god, I'm scrolling through the list now. Fuck me.
It takes like 3 to 4 scrolls just to see the things that are in post-production.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Space Sharks, Arena Wars, Alone Today.
Space Sharks has to be another the Asylum film.
Oh yeah. Terror of the Soul, Night, MMA Cop. No.
He's in that. He better be the MMA cop.
Oh, I highly doubt it. An Angry Boy. He's Andy in Angry Boy.
Gosh. But you would have thought that seeing like a named actor, he'd be the best actor, but he was probably the worst. Or maybe slightly better than monotone military lady.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, I'm stuck on MMA Cop. A young renegade vice detective protects a beautifully investigated journalist who is hunted by an elite sex trafficking tycoon.
when does this come out?
What,
It has to be on our
2023?
list. Okay, whatever. If we still, we're not, if, when we do our podcast next year, we will make sure we add that to our list. MMA Cop.
All right,
This is a thing. So, what do we got? So we've got our six characters. It's basically just from start to finish. It's badly done CGI scene. I'm not even going to talk about the CGI because it's the asylum. They don't put money into it. It's obviously very poorly done. It's badly like done CGI scene with dinosaurs, or it's boring talking scene to pad it out to an hour and a half, and it's just that back and forth for an hour and a half. It's a fucking mess.
I
I had
actually,
such a good time.
I had a great time with it. Just the intro, I was like, oh, I reckon I could be in one of these films. I was like, if I was in a
Totally.
film, something like this would be probably your stepping stone. And if you're
Yep.
like competent, you'd probably get noticed because like
Yep.
everyone else would make you stand out. Oh, how's the first intro scene where he's like, the guys are driving and he's like, hey, Sergeant, you haven't said anything. He's like, I'm just not happy about transporting something I don't know. So she like,
Yeah.
is there anything in there and pokes it and just gets eaten? That's the intro scene.
And then we cut to like a longer shot when they go around the back and have a look, and it's just an empty car with like a dodgy blood splatter. Like they've taken out so much that was in the previous scene. There's just no, they don't care.
There's no continuity at all.
Nah, no one cares. No one is there to do more than maybe 2 takes and then move on with their lives.
Yeah, it was a shot
And
in
that's the
like half
asylum.
a day,
Oh yeah.
probably a day at most.
Yep.
But the main dude, the main army, I guess
Main
special
army guy.
operative, whatever. Yeah,
Army Man 1. Yep.
yeah, I enjoyed his delivery. Like sometimes it was okay, but most of the
Yeah.
time it's like there's a reason I didn't always work in an office. When he's like, when he shoots the dinosaur, he's like, "You're so tactically minded."
At one point, he looks directly into the camera. He's like carrying his gun and he says a line and he starts to walk away and he stares straight into the camera and then they cut. Like, even the editor didn't give a shit.
Just get a paycheck and away you go.
Exactly. And that's the asylum. And I mean, that's sort of what I came to expect. And that's what made it funny because it was like I watched it on a Friday night. I've been working my ass off all day. I was tired. I got a little bit tipsy because I thought it'd be funnier, and it was the greatest hour and a half. It was spectacular. I want to watch more of the Asylum films. If they were more like this, there's a period where I was watching a few just for a laugh, and they got really, really boring,
Yeah,
and they weren't funny bad. They were just boring bad.
yeah.
But this sort of got me excited for a bit more.
You got to tip into over the top, don't you? Like if you're
Oh, you have
going
to.
if you're going into this realm, like
Yeah.
remember that run of movies where they just parried like big movies? It was like scary movie,
Yes.
date movie,
Epic movie,
yeah,
disaster movie. Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
you have to go over the top. And there was even a superhero
Totally.
one. I can't remember what it was called. It was probably like superhero or something.
Probably was superhero movie. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
I reckon it probably was.
I lost track.
But like you need to delve into shocking to be able to come across as good. Where
Yeah.
this tipped over into it, and I was like, yes, that's really good. I really liked some of it. Seemed it was like they've gone off script, like they were like let's improv some scenes. Like
Yeah.
when they were trying to explain why the female dinosaur is more intelligent or more dominant to or the other one, and it's like she gave him that scar to let him know that she was
Yeah.
stronger.
Oh, that all that when they tried to like hyper intelligent the dinosaurs, it was the dumbest shit. Like how the scene where the dinosaur they lay out the tripwire and the dinosaur grabs like a barrel and throws it into the tripwire and they're like, oh, she's getting smarter. It's so shit.
That was probably their best acting scene, I thought. Like you gotta give it to them. And
It's so funny.
I reckon the awkward hug at the end to the when they survive to
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. When
army
the
lady, and she's like,
airstrike.
yeah, and they like, we survived, and they hug the army lady, and she's like, I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
oh my god, like
No chemistry.
I felt
I
that
mean, obvious.
awkwardness.
Yeah, yeah. Every scene with because I think that guy, Army Man One. I think he is in a few. I've seen him in other movies. I'm guessing other the Asylum films. Um, he was the probably. Oh, I keep saying everyone's the worst actor. he was. He had no acting. He. It wasn't even that he was monotone. He just didn't act the whole film.
He was just there. I liked how they even tried to explain about the laser guns. It was like
What was that?
the laser gun where the what's his name, old
Oh, the
mate. It's
fucking
in,
black Nerf guns look like
yeah,
plastic shit.
when he's
Yeah,
like, oh, make sure you get them alive, and she's like, we have laser guns that will stun them.
yeah.
They shoot him. He's like,
I've
oh,
upgraded the weapons or some shit.
and they just kill it. Like, oh, good. Now we don't have to worry about that dinosaur. Let's move on to the smart one.
And the consistency of the size of the dinosaurs. Like in one scene, they walk through a door, and then later on they're shooting one of like the ones towards the end, and it's fucking enormous. It's so ridiculous.
Ugh. The whole thing's
Oh
just a
man,
mess. Like, oh my god. But in terms of one of the lines where they were like, oh, we can save so many lives by weaponizing dinosaurs.
yeah. They keep coming back to that all the
That
time. They're
was
like,
that was the whole
"We're here to save
purpose.
lives." What lives? You've created dinosaurs to murder people. What lives are you saving? Like, are
And
you going to send dinosaurs to go hunt terrorists?
I think that was the plan. Like instead of putting army soldiers, they got an army of dinosaurs that
Surely
they've
that's way more expensive than a human life.
and then they've recorded the mother, and that's how they control them. It's like,
Yeah, and they play the sound or whatever it was.
yeah.
They're in like the cafeteria. Also, they're meant to be in a like a military base, but it was filmed in a fucking school. Every scene, you can tell they're in like a gymnasium and then in a
Yeah.
cafeteria, and
Yeah.
made
I think
it
that
was a mess.
they made it better, I reckon.
Yeah, I had
And
fun, and every scene you sort of it's kind of like when we watch high school kids assignments, and it's very hard to get yourself invested in the story and stuff because you're just watching actors or you're watching people sort of make a film and there's no skill behind it. No offense to my students, but you're sort of you're critiquing it rather than enjoying it and getting invested in the story. I was every single talking scene. I got so bored. They just threw out like smart jargon that I'm sure made no sense. I mean, I didn't even know, but I doubt it would have made any sense because they wouldn't have given a shit. They would have just Wikipedia'd a bunch of smart words and thrown them into a sentence.
no, I was on the edge of my seat seeing how they could escalate it from scene to scene. Like
They did.
when they were trying to explain how quickly the dinosaurs evolved, they're like, they're really friendly and cool for a year, but then they get aggressive and smart after a year.
See, I don't remember that at all. There's so many scenes I just stopped watching.
Oh, do you see the little dinosaur where it like gets one of the people? And it's like, it comes out of
The
nowhere.
proportions of that thing had this enormous head that should have been dragging behind it.
Do you
The
remember
proportions of the baby dinosaurs were so
Do
ridiculous.
you remember like Tekken 3 where they had the
Yeah.
dinosaur character gone or something or other?
No. Let me Google.
Yeah, so
Google does.
pretty sure it was Tekken, but one of the fighting games had this dinosaur that you could fight with, and I think it was Tekken 3.
Alex.
The dinosaur.
Tekken
Oh,
2. Yeah, check it. Hold on. Oh shit. On
whoa.
my phone. Well, no, it doesn't want to
Yeah.
show. It doesn't want to let me. Oh, why
Well,
is it doing that?
I reckon I can get it, and then I'll screen show the whoa.
That's so
God.
weird. So if you're watching the VOD, if you're not watching the VOD, then nothing's happening,
No,
and I'm really
it's
sorry for
gone.
confusing you.
His name is Gone. Is the one
So
I'm
who's
talking about.
Alex?
I don't know who Alex
Must be
is.
another one.
Gone
Gon?
is
Gon?
Gon, which is the Tekken dinosaur. He's like got boxing
Oh
gloves
no
and stuff.
shit. That looks exactly like it.
Yeah,
Looks like a Digimon.
I told you it was the thing.
No, I don't remember that at all.
Maybe I can. How do I share
Put it
this
as your
thing?
background. Put it as your background.
Uh,
Gone, gone,
Oh,
gone,
I'm gonna
gone.
save it. That WebMD stuff gets me every time.
Ah,
I
every
hate it.
time.
I just want a
How dare
JPEG.
they prevent me
Oh,
from downloading my images?
I mean, I can just click on it and screen cap. No, I'm just gonna share screen.
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
Portion of the
If anyone's
screen.
listening, the only
Ah,
people who get any use out of this are people watching the vodcast. Everyone else right now is like,
can
why
you
they're wasting my time?
can you see
Yep,
my
I can
screen?
see it. I can
Yep.
see it. Yes.
Yeah, sick. So check the vodcast out too, or just type
Yeah.
into Google "Gone Tekken,"
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
away you go. He's
GON.
Yep, he's a little dinosaur. That's what it looked like. I feel like
Very much so.
cool. Stop sharing. Look at that! I worked it out on the
Oh, so
fly.
proud of you.
Hooray! But yeah, it was a mess, but
Yeah.
it was a fun mess, and
It was a lot of fun.
that's the best kind of mess.
Yeah.
Oh golly! But
Um.
what would you rate this?
I'm just going through my notes. I'm just seeing what else I want
Oh,
to.
you
Oh,
missing
okay.
anything? Oh, here we
One
go.
thing. One thing that got me hard. First time I noticed that, I'm like, okay, that's just lazy. No one picked her up on that. Twice in the movie, you wouldn't pick it up because your English is annoying. But she said confiscated twice, not confiscated. I even went on Google and made sure I wasn't wrong and what I wasn't pronouncing it incorrectly. Confiscated. She says it. This is military woman, boring lady. She says it twice. These aren't the ones we confiscated. That either they're that shit and they don't know how to write or how to even English, or they just don't give a shit at all. And
Well,
obviously it's the latter.
confiscated. Confiscated.
Confiscate it. I didn't
Oh,
confiscate it.
I did not pick up on that at
Uh,
all.
the music sound like the 007 Goldeneye soundtrack. It was just constantly tense music. Um, he looked right into the camera. The guns look like budget cosplay. The smart dinosaur. One of the blood splatter scenes looked like a tomato sauce fight. um, there was one scene where military man number one was kneeling down and Doctor Lady was standing up and they were having a conversation. And he was kneeling and looking like eye level, and she was standing looking eye level. So it looked like he was staring at her knees or her shins, and she was off staring into the distance during the entire conversation. It uh,
Just having a
was that done in
gander.
post? I don't know. I just wrote,
Ah,
is he talking to her knees?
I reckon
Uh,
they would have shot it and then gone, "Oh, we've messed up here." Oh well.
it's obvious that they didn't want to say anymore. They didn't want to drop the F bomb because we just kept saying friggin' this and friggin' that.
Would that
Um,
would that put them up into the next rating? Is that why the
yeah, you get one fuck in American PG-13. You get fuck once,
okay.
and there's always and we'll talk about this more in full because it's worth mentioning in full as well.
Yeah.
But also last thing, I
Oh,
love the scene with Eric Roberts when he's walking around outside doing whatever he's doing, and he's meant to be quote on the phone, and he's just holding his hand to his ear, and he's just talking like, and then you see him turn his head, and there's nothing there. He's not holding an earpiece or whatever. He's just
that's just him.
just Eric Roberts. He's just magic. It's don't worry, Eric. This will look great. Just hold your hand to your ear, and we'll film the scene. Okay, no worries. Here's your money. Goodbye.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
so shit.
There's so many things
What
that
would
are
I give
going
it?
on.
It's a one. Um, but it's also a five. It's a one in terms of like, is it good? No, it's fucking horrible. It's a one. Should you watch it with friends while you're doing shots every time that a terrible CGI scene comes in, or every single time
You
Eric
wouldn't.
Roberts looks like an old man fumbling with the cut off? If it's a movie you're gonna watch with friends, you're having a drink, you're making a drink game out of it, it's a fucking five. It was so funny in all the shittest ways. It if the Asylum just made movies like this, I'd watch way more. It was a laugh. It was fun.
Yeah. Technically and everything that we talk about in films, it's shocking. I agree it's a one, but
Yeah.
it definitely gets watch it for absolutely dumb fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're going in there and you're like, oh, I want to, blow off some steam and watch something, it's not like a B grade action film. Check out
Yeah.
a Z rated action film.
Yeah. But have your
This,
phone handy because in every dialogue scene, you're gonna want to go and scroll Facebook or something because it's either really boring or really fucking funny.
I didn't find it boring. I
Okay.
laughed at how bad the, the dialogue was, like how far they could escalate or try and
Yeah.
work out how they can fill these plot holes on the fly. It felt like
Oh, see,
a
I should listen better then.
it was like an improv like beginner class that they recorded. That's what it felt like. They were like just whatever. We'll,
Yeah, with awkward pauses and all.
yeah,
People
we'll,
waiting for their lines to get read to them.
we'll flow with it. Like that was it
Yeah.
was good fun, and I can't wait for MMA Cop.
Yeah, me either now. It's that's the biggest blockbuster of 2023.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else now.
Oh, that's so funny. It's oh my god. We should probably
Yeah.
keep well, we should keep an eye on the asylum films to just for some fun.
Yeah.
Throw them in there every now and
I'm
again.
more interested now than I was before.
Yeah. But moving on, we hit the peak with obviously Jurassic, and now
Yeah.
we're falling full. Nah, I messed up
That
the
wasn't
joke.
even
Whatever.
good.
No,
Nah,
it
that was
wasn't.
shit.
Whatever. I was trying to work it in there.
Better than
See,
this.
improv. No, I'm not. I'm trying to asylum it. So
Silent. Yeah,
yeah,
good.
awkward
There's a lack
pauses.
of caring. There's a way
Yeah.
to roll with it. You'd be like, ball, ing, and then wait for applause and continue.
Yeah. But I keep saying the fool. It just seems a natural
Sure.
way to say it. But
That's fair.
anyway,
Yeah.
if I say the fool, you know what I'm talking about. But there's another film called The Fool, which is
Yeah.
really weird. So when I went to like Google what it was, it kept coming up with that
Uh-huh.
one, and I was like, that's not what I was looking at. But
Mm-mm.
Fool is best friends Becky and Hunter find themselves at the top of a 2,000-foot radio tower. So
Yep.
before I
Two
go
Eiffel
in,
Towers.
yeah, before I go into this, I actually went into, I guess you can call it the cheat sheet, which is the IMDb like reviews. And I
Mhm.
did some scrolling afterwards. Like I don't know anything about climbing in terms of the technical aspect or
Yep.
anything about it, but
Sure.
people hated this film
Oh.
purely based on how unrealistic the climbing and that was.
Oh.
So like
Okay.
one guy went on a mad rant, and I was like having a giggle and reading about it. But climbing side by side or something or other isn't a good idea. And like, there's one point where she like jumps across or jumps over or something, which is apparently really unsafe. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know anything about climbing. But this
Sure.
film starts pretty much with was it best friend Becky? So I can't remember
Becky.
what was their
Becky's
names.
husband.
It was Becky and her husband were climbing. He unfortunately dies. So
Dan.
yeah,
Dan, I
yeah.
think, was the husband's name.
I don't know. He wasn't in there for long
Yeah.
enough.
He died scene one.
Yeah, that's the catalyst for this thing. So he
Yeah.
dies. She's unfortunately, obviously, really upset and trying to deal with the trauma of obviously him dying. The dad is
Mhm.
in there for a very short amount of time, like trying to console his daughter. And
Do you reckon he's trying to console her? He berates her about grieving.
yeah, well, I, at the start, he seemed like he kind of cared. Like, I feel like there was a little bit of time passing in terms of where it was going. But anyway, he he jumps ship, and then her friend comes into the scene
Mhm.
and is like, "Come with me." And then
She's like a YouTuber, Danger D or something they call her.
yeah, so she's like I guess a real life blogger, which is meant to
Mhm.
like she goes into dangerous situations and just
Mhm.
films herself, and I guess she's meant to be really popular.
Yeah.
They kept referencing what was it, followers, so I'm assuming it was like Instagram rather than like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, they do say she's a YouTuber, but they also say that she's got 60,000 Instagram followers. So I guess both
I'm
to a
assuming so.
degree.
I guess
Yeah.
most content creators now have pretty
Yeah.
much everything, so
Insta. Mhm.
yeah, why not? I just wasn't sure in terms what she wanted. Like, was she just trying to grow both platforms? Because there's points where they're focusing on like still photography, and then others she's doing like real life blogs and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
guess
don't,
Insta does do both though, like stories versus posts sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Which I felt like the point of views of every time she was doing her blogs a bit odd. Like I feel
Mhm.
like they really hammered home that she's a content creator, but
Hmm.
they were like really focusing and pushing the point of her being, I guess, famous and what it's like to see her through the lens, where I didn't care
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all.
Same. Her
So
character was kind of annoying.
yeah,
Can I just quickly say, because I'm going to start spoiling shit, if you haven't seen this movie, we're going to spoil it. And I really think that watching this without spoilers it's a good movie. I, yeah, I mean, continue, but I just want to say, so I'm about to mention some things like the twist or whatever. But if you haven't watched it yet, you have to watch it without it being spoiled. Otherwise, it's really not that entertaining. Um, but I'd watch it again with that being said. But yeah, please continue. I just want to mention that. Please go watch it if you haven't before because it's good.
yeah, I don't think that it would be the same without the twist, though.
No,
So no,
totally agree. Exactly my
like
point.
yeah, if you know the twist, it's going to ruin it. But
Yep.
the cinematography and the direction in terms of when they finally
Hmm.
get like the lead up story, I don't care about. You could skip that
I
and
agree.
just see them climb the tower. Like
Yeah.
for them to be able to climb a tower and for it to be like thrilling and interesting and
Oh,
engaging is really well done. Like in terms of
oh
the
so
whole
anxious.
the editing and the
Hmm.
cinematography to be able to show the height and the depth
It is.
that they are
Yep.
actually at. Like I don't like heights at the best of times, but
Yeah.
like I was like, oh, that gives me a little bit of like vertigo, a little bit of I'm feeling
Yeah.
a bit uneasy. And
And
the
they do that
set,
really, really well.
yeah, like the whole climb was pretty intense. I
Hmm.
like going up there with a 50, would they have 50 foot of rope like
50 feet
attached to
rope.
each
Yeah.
other and just climbing up this thing. But I feel like they shouldn't have shown and led up, like when they're climbing and they're
Hmm.
flashing to the bridge or
The
the ladder
ricketiness. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then a bolt missing. I wish they didn't show that and it was just
Sure. It was more of a
almost that.
surprise for us.
Yeah, because they were building. I know you're trying to build suspense, and they're like, "Oh, they're in danger."
Yeah.
But
But we're
like,
watching a movie that we know that they're going to get trapped. We don't need to be warned of them danger happening. We're already feeling tense
mhm.
because we know that this movie is about them being trapped on this tower. So we don't need to be reminded that it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Um,
where they could have spent extra time really building that relationship between the two girls because she sort of just came on
uh,
the scene, and it wasn't until like afterwards when they're up the top and they're kind of like
yeah,
stranded is when they started really having that bond, and I was like starting to
I
care
agree.
for them, where they could have spent more time focusing on that aspect.
Yeah,
But I've got to say,
would
like
have
once
preferred if it was just. Sorry, please go.
so when they finally do get up to the top and they're
Hmm.
like, "Ooh, take a picture of me," I was like, "Ooh, that's." I was I was scared for her. Like
Shitting it.
it felt thrilling watching her hang off there. Like normally, if you're seeing that in a film, you're like, "Oh, whatever. If you fall, you
Yeah,
fall." But I'm like,
absolutely.
that's actually really terrifying.
Totally agree. The way they built anxiety throughout the throughout the entire thing, even after sort of the catalyst of them staying up there, you feel like really, really tense the entire way. I'm not necessarily scared of heights, but I was shitting myself watching this. And it's because, like you said, they focus heavily on like point of view shots of what it would be like to be there, rather than doing a lot of like crane shots and drone shots, things like that. Um, do you know how this was sort of filmed? Doing I did some research because I was found it quite interesting.
No, you go.
Sure. So it was 3 million, so it's a pretty low budget film. Um, they built a 30 foot tall, 100 foot tall tower, so like 30 meters for us. Um, and they filmed and put this tower on top of a mountain and filmed all these scenes on an actual tower. Um, and that's a big part of why it feels the way it feels because they are up high. I mean, it's 30 meters. It's not 2,000 feet, whatever that is in meters. Um, but it's scary. It feels really really intimidating. They did a good job. I'm glad there weren't heaps of. It could have been done, green screen the entire way. But the fact that it wasn't made it properly anxious.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
actually cared for him. I was like, I want you two to get down and be safe.
yeah,
and like building that suspense of when the bloke's randomly walking there
Yeah, with the dog.
with a dog and they're throwing shoes down. I
Uh-huh.
I don't know how that bloke didn't like realize, because like
Of
if
course.
there's
Plot.
shoes coming down, I know it was a little bit of
Of
whatever.
course.
Let's move on. Like the dog sort of knew something was up,
Yeah.
but he moved on.
I did love
there
I
was
was gonna say, I do
times
love that even when we did see them get his attention, they stole their car.
yeah.
They get the attention of two like hillbilly blokes, and they come and they just steal the girl's car and they drive away, leaving them stranded. Um,
Yeah.
it surprised me.
Like lots of good twists and turns. I was like, all right, cool. Now they're going to get down. But then I was like, all right, how are they going to get down? But no, it just
Yeah,
broke into the car and went. There
yeah,
was there was times where right at the end, like with all the twists and turns, I was like,
hmm
why didn't they put the phone onto the drone
yeah,
and then like
yeah.
just hover it down to
Hover it down.
where
Yeah,
they get
yeah.
to cell service? Like I feel like
You're not wrong.
then problem solved.
Yeah,
But
I
we don't have the suspense that obviously is building, because they would have
yeah.
just been able to contact. Like clever idea to put the phone in the
hmm
shoe and like just
hmm
peg it. Like you assume that
Yeah,
somewhere in its fall that it would actually get cell service.
I went and looked up online. It would take 16 seconds to fall that distance. I'm under the thinking that if a phone is being dropped from that height, I almost feel like it would send sort of midair personally, but I guess I don't really know. That's the thing. I watching it. I sort of predicted everything. I was like, throw the phone off, and they did. And then I was like, "I'll go get the drone," and they did. And I sort of the whole way through predicting it until, and here's the reveal. There's a scene where Hunter has to go down, whatever, 50 feet ish, to get
It's
to
further than 50 feet because they only got 50 feet of rope.
of rope. So it was like 60 feet, a little bit extra. And they couldn't quite reach. So yeah, they have to go down to get the bag. The bag has water and the bag has their drone. So I want to go get that. Um, when can you hear my dogs right now playing?
I heard it just then. That hadn't heard it
Hell
before.
up. That's fine. New microphone. Um, that in that scene, Hunter gets stranded. She has to make a jump back. She's starting to climb up. She lets go. Something happens, and then you see her grab back onto the bag, and then she goes back on top, and everything's fine, and they live out the rest of the time. We then get revealed later that at that point, Hunter actually dies, and from then on, all the Hunter scenes are actually within Becky's head, and it's sort of she's imagining that her friend's still there, just how grief stricken she is.
I see dead
Um,
people.
yeah, I didn't predict that at all, and it totally changed my perspective on the film. At that point, it was predictable. It was boring. I mean, it wasn't boring. I was super anxious, and the anxiety that it built was really, really good. But once they're up there, I was waiting for it to sort of end. The fact that it was an hour 47 or whatever it is, it's it's nearly a 2 hour film. But hey, man, this is going to drag out. But then when that happened, it made me like rethink back, want to rewatch it. Um, I rewatched it from Hunter's death onwards and saw all the little things that sort of, like the fact that she wasn't getting sunburn and the fact that she wasn't drinking any more water and that she couldn't fly her drone and that all these little things, why she didn't catch the backpack, that you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. And that made me instantly, the movie was clever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and until she fought a vulture.
Oh, I
Like
know that.
they ruined that.
So
Like
silly. I understand that she needs fuel, like food, to get off, but to beat a vulture to death, it just
it looked
it
silly
was
too.
such a silly, yeah, it was a really silly climax to a story that built so well, and then to have her strangle and beat a vulture to death, eat the raw flesh of vulture, which is that's not a big thing. People eat all sorts of random stuff when they're in survival mode. But it was so left field to see her like that. It was so strange.
Like I guess they did allude to the vultures around, but just to
Yeah,
have that to all of a sudden beating the vulture to death, and like wouldn't the
yeah,
talons ripped it to shreds?
totally,
Like
100%. You're just like, grab their legs with one hand and grab their neck with the next or whatever. Like it's a vulture too. They're big. They're like 50-kilo birds.
That's a scary thing to be fighting on a on
Yeah.
a very high tower. But also, I forgot in the comments they weren't happy when Becky first went down the ladder and the ladder fell, and you know how Hunter tried to grab her and like pull her up. They said like the sheer shock of her body weight falling would have dragged them both off.
I said the same thing when it happened. I was watching it with my partner, and straight away I was like, nope, that's way too much suspension of disbelief. That was way too silly.
Yeah. So all the climbers were hating on the film, but
I can see why.
But as a film and the twist actually sold this. Like it was clever. They kept it all in one place. Like, I actually had a good time. But
there was too much obvious reincorporation. Like as soon as I was watching it and they got the drone, I'm like, oh, how are they going to charge it? And then I was like, oh, light bulb, because that earlier scene, I was light bulb at the top. And I knew it was going to happen straight away because by that point, they'd already belted in so many reincorporations that you're almost reviewing the earlier parts of the movie in order to try and find the end yourself automatically. So that was kind of annoying in a way.
I mean, they got limited resources. Like, there's only so much they can do. Yeah. So, but also at the top of the tower, what are they going to use to charge a drone? Like, there was like, I guess, convenience.
Supposedly, I looked it up. Supposedly, it's viable if you do it properly.
Which they happen to know how to do,
I guess. But like, I have a drone. To get 15 minutes charge, like 15 minutes worth of actual fly time, it's about 2 hours charging.
Wow.
There's no way someone could hold on to the top of that tower for 2 hours in that position while being attacked by vultures. Vultures don't attack people. Vultures are, well, they're vultures. They pick on the dead, or at least maybe they're very close to dead. Wouldn't be swooping over top of a tower unless there was a nest there, but whatever.
Birdemic.
It still did a lot of good stuff. Sorry, Birdemic. Yeah. Oh yeah, if there's some wild they try to explain Birdemic as like a climate change problem, and it's messing with the birds like
psyche
inner thoughts, and so maybe this is a Birdemic.
Maybe this is a sequel
universe. The fourth sequel.
A better one anyway.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I had a really good time. It's probably out of all three of these movies, it's the one that I'm most intrigued. Well, I went straight back and watched. Well, not straight back, but I went back and watched more of it again. So I enjoyed it more than when I first watched the first 20 minutes. I was
like, you could skip that first 20 minutes. We were
joking at it. Yeah, I reckon take the whole Dan thing out. Just make it a story about like two friends who used to hang out, used to go mountain climbing all the time. One settled down with the family, and the other one's an adventurous, famous person or whatever. And then you get up the family person and you get out the adventurous, and so have the entire same plot and everything. But take out the asshole dad who's bullying her about grieving. Don't worry about the whole Dan story. Take out the whole love triangle and the whole I love you 143 whatever. Like, there's a lot of dumb little elements that didn't add.
Didn't she do a confession at the top of the tower as well?
Yeah.
Was it Hunter was sleeping with Becky's husband?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dan. And then fucking Becky's all of a sudden like, oh, my dad was right. Dan was an asshole. Like, sure, he slept with someone, but what, you're just gonna not grieve your dead husband anymore because he's slept like with one of your, I mean, sure, but she went straight from hating her dad, and fair enough, because her dad was being a prick, to, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Dad. I never should have. You were so right. He was a bad person. And then she totally flipped.
I mean, I guess stress and tension is definitely high up there. So who knows? Yeah. She would.
And they were the good elements. Was that tension.
I did not see it. Did not. It was kind of. It was a similar like reveal to Sixth Sense, where you're like, when he's like, I see dead people.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, all right, that changed the whole film.
Yeah, finding out that Bruce Willis is dead is like is a big, oh my God, I'm going to rewatch this now with that new frame of mind. Same with Fight Club.
Yep.
Not that
So
this could be compared to Fight Club, but
no, but probably pull some inspiration in terms of that sort of shocking
hmm
twist, which I like
hmm
those shocking twists, and I'm glad I didn't see anything about this film beforehand. So it
Same, same.
was good fun. I
To
would,
spend 3 mil on a film this good.
yeah, I
Oh,
reckon
one
that.
more thing.
Ooh,
Sorry, but no, one more thing I need to mention that is actually a really interesting thing about how this film was made. Initially, it was made by BuzzFeed Films and it was going to be distributed to the theaters.
BuzzFeed.
Lionsgate bought it. I know, right? Lionsgate bought it and wanted to turn it down to PG-13. Therefore, they're going to have one fuck. In the initial recording, they had like 45 fucks, and they didn't want to reshoot and whatever. So they used AI to redub their lips to match new like audio dubbing when they said frigging this and frigging that and whatever, and it was obvious and annoying. But I never noticed that the AI was done. I think it's so crazy. We're at a point now that it is cheaper to get a computer to recomputer someone's mouth movements to new audio than it is to do reshoots.
That's pretty scary. That's going to put a lot of people out of context, probably.
But how cool is it going to be when that technology catches up and we're watching Squid Game or Money Heist, and we're watching it in English, and they've used computers to redub new actors' voices over actors' mouths. It's gonna be
Very,
incredible.
yeah, very cool. But it's also going to be people are going to abuse that a lot.
Yes, like deep fakes.
Yep. So that's going to be interesting. But anyway, in terms of
Yeah.
rating,
Mm-hmm.
I reckon I gave this a 4. Like I had a good time.
Yeah.
Like it was good. I would definitely recommend people watching it, even if they skip
Mm-hmm.
the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good, good twists, good turns. If it didn't have that, it would definitely be a different conversation. But
Yeah.
the stress and the anxiety that you kept saying in terms of them being up there definitely
Yep.
hits home. And it's really
For
hard to get
sure.
that across in terms of to an
Mm-hmm.
audience. Like so many people try, but very few succeed.
Yeah. It was properly like my gut was in my chest for the majority of the film. If it was 20 minutes longer and if the writing was better, it'd be a 4 for me. 20 minutes shorter, sorry, not 20 minutes longer. Um, the fact that the writing was really poor and the characters were really unexciting and bland, and they tried to throw in twists with the whole love triangle thing, but it didn't mean anything. Um, it's 3.5. I still enjoyed it way more than I thought. Before the twist with Hunter, it's like a 2, maybe even 2.5. But because it had that twist and it made me want to rewatch it with a different lens, it deserves a bump. So yeah, like a 3.5. Would recommend if you haven't watched it and we've ruined the story for you. Um, it is still worth a rewatch, even knowing that Hunter is dead at that point. Um, it's still interesting to see from that point and how they show little like little tidbits that she is actually dead. Pick them up.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
excellent. All righty. Nice, nice, nice. We have another jam-packed episode for you next week as well. So we
Heck
are
yeah.
going to be watching Bullet Train, which is came out this year anyway, but it's an action comedy.
Oh,
Also,
is it? Okay.
yep,
I saw Brad Pitt and I went, yeah, I'll watch that because
yep,
I like Brad Pitt.
yep. I'm not going to give you any
Sure.
information about it, but I did review it on the YouTube channel when it did came
Okay.
out.
Sure.
House of the Dragon episode 7. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, due to our schedules not sort of mixing up, whatever our schedules didn't
Continue.
match up. We are going to do episode 7, and we are recording on Sunday night now, and then next Sunday as well. So we will be a little bit behind with the House of Dragons, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
we'll catch up. We'll
Yeah,
catch up.
and we'll do a time skip. My
Nice.
my best friend's Exorcism, which is an Amazon
Yep.
original. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like something.
Looks shit.
I'm judging it by the thumbnail. That's it. I don't want to know anything about it going into it.
Okay. I went and watched the trailer. It's
Okay.
very teeny boppy.
Yeah.
It feels
That's
like a high school sort of, but yeah.
yeah. If it's like Boo Bitch, then I will enjoy it, I reckon.
I haven't seen that.
It's on Netflix. It's actually
Okay.
they probably went for 2 episodes too long, but overall, not
Oh, it's
like
a series.
like
Okay.
I think they're about 25, 29 episode, not episodes, 29 minutes per episode. I think there's 8
Okay.
where they could have
Yep.
condensed it into 6 and it would have been much better. But
Sure.
yeah, it
Then
was
if you can
a,
do 6 episodes for 30 minutes, you might as well do a 3 hour movie at that point.
yeah, pretty much. But it's more of a bite chunk in terms of like you get to watch this
Sure. I guess it depends on the
one
writing.
scene come
Yeah.
out and then like it's better to watch it in chunks. Like I would have
Sure.
preferred a weekly release rather than just being on.
Mm-hmm.
Here's I hate the
Mm-hmm.
binge. The binge is a slog, but that's
Yeah,
what.
fair. I think even to go back to an earlier point, if that blonde movie was like a 6-parter, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, rather than that just chunk of. It would have given me a
Yeah,
break from the misery, which would have been like,
exactly.
all right, cool.
Exactly. That's why I had to break. And there was no sort of good time to break. It was kind of like Wolf of Wall Street where things just kept happening. So I never really had I just sort of had to stop myself because I was getting depressed.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a heavy tone, but what a jam packed episode, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It was
loving it.
pretty like everything. Oh, I was gonna say pretty neutral. Nothing was fantastic this week, but except Jurassic Domination.
The
It was
random pick. I picked that purely based off the thumbnail. Like it looked,
the poster.
it looked bad. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
the skyscrapers and the dinosaur like behind it with the eye. I mean, they're selling your product in terms
Ah.
of look how out of proportion that dinosaur is.
Right? They're nowhere
And
near that big. They're not
no,
like building size.
no, but that's what you get. So
Yeah.
it
It was
was good
funny
fun.
though.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. We're gonna. I just can't wait for MMA Cop. I'm so excited for
MMA
that.
cop, get around it.
It's so exciting. But anyway, we won't take up any
Yeah.
more of your time. You know what to do. If you're on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow, you hit the bell, download us. That's even better.
Yep.
If you're on Apple, give
Like,
us a
comment, and subscribe.
5-star rating. If you listen to the vodcast and you want to jump into the Twitch, from live every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:45 Australian Central Standard Time.
You.
Lawson's one of my mods. Come and
Oh, is it still
say,
Central Standard Time? Because we're now in daylight savings time.
yeah, whatever. We're Central Standard Time. We're always Central
It's not
Standard Time.
standard time, it's Central Daylight Savings Time now.
I just
7:45 Central Daylight Savings Time. It's a
yeah,
different time.
no, maybe whatever. But anyway, I don't care. We say daylight savings in the chat, and we'll know that you listen to it. We know that you listen to it. That's our
Oh,
that's our
shit.
code word. So
Glorious.
if you say it in the chat, something might happen. It might not. Something might happen. Say it, and we'll see.
I'll post a laugh,
Yep.
emote or whatever.
Don't tell them. It's
Oh,
meant to be a
sorry.
surprise.
No, this is a surprise. I won't post a laugh emote.
See?
I'll post something secret that only we will understand.
That's like
Is that more intriguing?
yeah, it's heaps more intriguing. This is
Oh,
like
look
the
at that.
movie segment all over again.
Never.
Just
We're such professionals. Don't say things like that.
we haven't established the rule set yet.
There's no fucking rules here.
There is. That's all right. I'll get you. But anyway, if whatever you're
Killer.
on, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and you could be doing anything in the world right now, but you listen to us, so make sure you tell
Your friends. Woo!
tell them all, even
Tell everyone.
everyone, even acquaintances, people you don't like.
Yeah.
Tell them as well. Like, be like, yo, stop picking
Especially
on
tell
me.
them.
Yeah, tell them, and get them
It'll
to
make
listen.
their day better, and they might treat you better because you've shown them something fantastic.
That's right. Remember, movie talks. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo.